Welcome to the Service MVP podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, and we are here with a special guest. His name, it's rare to have a Hall of Famer in the house, and we do have one from the Contracting Business Magazine Hall of Fame for HVAC. We have Mr. Joe Cunningham. Joe, say hi. I'm proud to have you on the show today.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to this meeting.
Well, it's very rare to find somebody universally accepted by both peers and contractors and clients and colleagues and really everybody. It's probably because you're a no BS type of a guy, I've noticed. So, definitely that appeals to me because I try to live up to that standard as well too. Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to be an expert on educating and developing professional technicians and people in the trades, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'd be glad to do that. Beginning my career when I got out of high school, if you'd have ever told me I was going to do anything like this, I'd have told you you're out of your mind. I want to become a blacksmith and a horse trader. And that's what I used to do. I used to shoe horses. But I did that for quite a while, and I decided I needed to figure something else out. And I ended up going into sales. Was kind of a quick trip. I did some other trades. I did some plumbing. I did some framing of houses. I did different things. And then I met a guy who asked me to come to work for him and work in his home improvement company. So that was kind of my introduction to sales. And sales to me was really foreign because I am not an outgoing person by nature. I don't go out and I talk to people and felt comfortable with that. So that's something that I had to learn to do. And after I did that, I went from sales to management. And I thought, well, if I can do this, and I figured out how to do it, and I didn't have a whole lot of help doing it. I had a little bit of input. Then I could probably help some other people do it as well. And I noticed this company was getting more and more new people, so they asked me to help them, and I did. And they became successful salespeople. And as I went from different businesses to different businesses, in the home improvement business, I moved to Houston, Texas. I worked for a guy in the home improvement business, and I opened my own home improvement business. And I found out how easy air conditioning was to sell. So I started selling air conditioners door to door in Houston, Texas, because that's the only way I knew how to sell it.
Nice.
I didn't know how to find any other leads. So I just go out and knock doors, and I had 3 guys that subcontracted from me, and they installed it. I never installed it back then. I never did a whole lot of that part. I had technical skills. I knew how to do a lot of it, but it was just faster for me. If I'd go sell it, find the customers, give it to these guys, they'd install it. They bought all their stuff, and then they put it in. So the guys that installed for me had never sold that much air conditioning before. So their distributors started asking them how they were selling it. They said, hey, we're not selling it. This guy's selling it. Here's his card. Go ask him. So they all came and asked me, and I told them, and none of them believed it. They said, you can't sell air conditioning door to door. But I guess I was so dumb I didn't know that you couldn't do that. So that's what I did. And after about 3 years, they figured out I could do that. Then they all wanted me to buy equipment from them, which I wouldn't. And time went on. I sold a lot of air conditioning. I had a relationship with Carrier. They asked me to fix some companies for them that they had that owed them a whole lot of money. So I went to that place, and I took those 2 companies, and we got Carrier paid off with a massive amount of money. And then Carrier made me an offer to go to work for all the distributors in the state of Texas, which I did. Carrier National saw what I did in Texas. They asked me to do programs for them. Then I went to work with a company called RetroTech, and I sold blower doors all over the United States. Taught people how to sell in the home using blower doors, which was a pretty exciting part of that. Learned a ton about airflow, a ton about fixing ducts, sealing ducts. And, most of the contractors even today don't know about that. I learned about airflow, which is extremely important. And most contractors don't put enough emphasis on that. So with all those relationships and all that I was doing, I worked also with Contractor Success Group. I was president of Future University. So I ran their technical arm and their non-technical arm. We figured out how to train a tech in 10 days. They're actually 2 weeks. And I've just taken all that information and gone forward with it. I've done seminars for most of the best practice groups. I'm a strategic training ally with Train American Standard. And I work with Service Nation Service Roundtable. I work with the EGI. I work with a whole lot of people and a lot of individual contractors. And I guess that's probably where you ran across me. So that's kind of my background. I've been in the field at every level, from being a plumber to working on air conditioning, framing houses. I've worked with distributors, manufacturers, and contractors. And I'm one of the only people that do what I do, which is consulting, that actually has a heating and air conditioning company that we run on a daily basis. And I have 2 trade schools now where we take entry-level guys, if they can spell AC, or if they can figure out how to pick up a pipe wrench and in 10 days turn them into an entry-level plumbing apprentice and an entry-level maintenance tech. And we've trained hundreds of those guys. So
I like how I like how these, I like how they spell AC, because I think HVAC might be too much.
there's too many letters. I used to ask them to spell furnace. That disqualified them all.
Well, first of all, I just got a chill down my spine because it's not like I've known of your presence truthfully since the mid 2000s, and you were kind of I just never I was of course we're all busy running our own path. It's straightforward, and we never looked to the side. But truthfully, the door to door was just my own way of handing out flyers and going to see people, that kind of. But I also did the blower door technology too, and I consider myself a building scientist, if you will, and as well. So seriously, I feel validated in a way that your path and our path were kind of converge, and it's about time we converged on a meeting like this. Today, we're going to talk about 3 things you can do to build a service professional for a company, since you have built so many of them with the Carrier Group and with the CSG, and now with your own. What's the name of the company you have right now, Joe?
Your air conditioning company. And our trade school is Technical Arts
What's the name of the school as well?
The Technical Arts Center.
The Technical Arts Center for HVAC?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, for HVAC and plumbing.
And I have recommended a lot of people go to you. When people bring up who do I send people to school, I always say Joe Cunningham will help round out the person, because I believe there's other people who do technical training, but I don't believe there are people who do the well-rounded approach, a holistic, where you're getting the technical and how to apply the technical training like you do. And definitely, I think I've met many technicians who have gone to training with me who always sing the praises of you, and they say, yeah, both you and for years I've had people say you and Joe Cunningham should get together. And I'm like, I know, I've been trying, but he's got a path and I got a path. But I definitely am honored to have you here, Joe. Let's give us the 3 steps. Let's give us 3 things we can do to give contractors awareness as to what it does take, because I think looking for technicians from a different company as opposed to building your own, why is it better to build your own as opposed to buying other technicians from other companies and paying them a high wage and things like that?
Well, I ran some centers for service experts, and I would let my service managers hire the technicians. And the deal was, when we'd hire them, they could interview them, but I had to see the guy before we put him in the truck. So they'd bring this resume or application in there and say, hey, Joe, here's this guy's coming in tomorrow morning to see you, and I think he's great. Look at his application, says he's got 10 years of experience. Well, the guy would come in the next day, and I talked to him, and I found out he really didn't have 10 years of experience. He had 1 year 10 times, because of the job hopping all over our industry. And every one of those guys that we'd get were really hard to convert to doing things our way. And through the process of taking these younger guys and getting them started where they had no bad habits whatsoever, made it easier for us, because we gave them the process, we gave them the procedures and processes were proven. And if they just took these steps, they'd be very successful. So we found a guy with no experience, and even more important, no preconceived notions of things that don't work because he heard it. The average way now that most contractors have of training a young guy is they'll have a guy that does everything they want him to do almost, and then they'll say, okay, Joe, you ride with Jim, and he'll show you how we do it. Well, Jim will teach him to be as good as he is almost. So every time we train that way, we have this never-ending downward spiral, rather than starting everybody out with the basics. And in the school, when we find those guys, we just teach them step 1 on through the process, how to check every component in the heating and cooling system out. And then we don't have any mess ups. You need a guy that's kind of mechanically oriented, that isn't totally turned off by talking to customers, and will do what you ask him. We've had guys and girls as well, from the week before they came to school, they worked at Olive Garden as a waiter, or they worked at a tire shop, or They worked as an electrician's helper. And I tell you, the installers generally do pretty well too, because they've never been out on service calls to see how other people do it. So they take that experience and the technical experience, and then it's easier to turn them over and get them to run calls like we want them to do. Now, in the technical portion, once you found this guy with some technical aptitude, I'd recommend doing a disc profile on them and see what kind of personality they have. But with that being said, I don't put 100% of my trust in a disc profile, because the one thing that a disc profile won't tell you is how bad this guy really wants it. Because I've seen some guys that didn't really rate on the disc where they should have, but they really, really wanted to do it, and they did it just by sheer determination. So you have to take that into it as well. So we take a look at this guy, and I'd recommend doing something with him around your shop before you send him off to school. Does he show up on time? That's a big part of it, because one of the biggest reasons that young people don't do well in their careers these days is they can't get to work on time, and they don't place enough emphasis on that.
So you're saying to do a beta test, if you will, of the personal habits that are things that are on site: the enthusiasm, the compliance, being timeliness and things like that. So step one is let's beta test before we start just putting education and investing in this education.
That's right.
Let's see if they're willing to invest in themselves. Does that make sense?
That's right. If they need to be willing to invest in themselves enough that they show up on time, that they follow your dress code, that they do the little things around the shop, and you don't really have to make them do a lot to find that out. Bring them in and let them look around the shop and let them work in the scrap pile. Taking equipment apart is a very good education, because they always wonder, what is this part? So, I mean, if you can get a guy that comes in and does that and is excited about taking junk equipment apart, I mean, you've got a great start. So we let him do that for a week or so, and then he can go to our classes. We usually have one once a month. We rarely ever take more than 10 students in these classes. So they come to Houston, which is where our school is. It's 10 days with no day off. So he has to be willing to accept that. We used to give him the weekend off, but that was in a different lifetime. And some guys get into mischief when they get away from home with a company credit card, and they've never been unsupervised. So they find every bar in town with no windows. So I don't like them to have that latitude to play over the weekend. So we go 10 days straight. And in those 10 days, number one, we have 3 setups in our lab. We have dead equipment so they can learn to take stuff apart with no power hook to it. I don't want to play with that. But, taking things apart and putting it back together is really important, but it also teaches them where the components are. And the first day we'll take stuff apart and they put it back together. And then the second day we take them apart and they have to lay them out in sequence of operation and make sure that's all right, and then put them back. And then the next day they have to lay them out in sequence of operation, put them back together. By then we're into the refrigeration cycle, so they have to put stickers on there. Where's high pressure? Where's low temperature? Where's high temperature? Where's low pressure? They have to be able to mark everything in the system, and then they're ready to go to the electronics. And we put them on an electronics board, and we teach them series wiring and parallel wiring, and they learn to start troubleshooting their wiring. And after we do that, then we go to live equipment. And our equipment is set up so my instructor can bug the equipment just by turning switches on and off in a hidden box. And, they learn how to work on it. They learn how to troubleshoot. They learn some amazing things. But the main thing is they learn where every component is in a heating and cooling system. They learn sequence of operation, which is super important. We have to push that forward because that's the basics of troubleshooting. They learn to charge using subcool and superheat. They learn to braze copper. They learn all the things that they need to know to go do basic maintenance and light troubleshooting. And then when they leave, we give them a troubleshooting book so they don't have to call the service manager so often.
Yeah.
When they leave, they've got a book that they open up. The first page says, before you work on any air conditioning system, this is what you do. And then what do you do when the condenser runs and the furnace doesn't? Common problems, how to troubleshoot them. And it takes them and walks them through most of the steps. And they become a very valuable employee very quickly. And what really makes this stuff work in the classroom, Joe, is Every day at the end of the day, we do what we call a learning skills assessment. And it asks them, what did you learn today that will help you most in your career? How do you think you can use that when you get back to your job? What did you learn today that we need more review on? And what would you like to go over again? And those last two questions are the most important, because you know as well as I do, if you have 10 technicians in a room and you ask, do you have any questions? Nobody says anything because
Nobody.
they're afraid they'll look like a dumbass. So, you know, they all sit there, but when they can write it down, they tell us everything. And this is a no tech left behind program. So first thing in the morning, my instructor is going to take them through the stuff we need review on. Because if one guy said he needs review, we got at least 2 or 3 in there. So we
Hmm.
review it. We don't leave anybody out. And I tell you, these guys, when they get out of that class, they are fantastic. So you find the guys, you teach them technically. And step number 3 is you have to teach them the customer service side. You know, how do we run a call? Step by step. What do you do when you arrive? Where do you park your truck? How do you approach the customer? How do you say what you're supposed to say to get the customer engaged?
Yeah.
Because if all we teach them is technical skills, they think we're really in the air conditioning business. And they don't understand that we're in the people business. We just fix air conditioners. And the
Hmm.
same thing with the plumbing side. So we run them through the whole call and the whole process. What do you do? What do you say? How do you engage this customer? How do you make a presentation so your customer understands it? How do you talk to your customer and find out a little bit about them?
Right.
Find out
Right.
what kind of learner they are. Find out how to best make your presentation to them and what to say.
Well, I think this is the Joe Cunningham difference. That's why I recommend everybody goes to the Technical Arts Academy with you, because I can see the 3 steps. Number 1, the beta. Let's make sure we send the right guy and invest in the right
Right.
person, or women, right? Man or woman. Not today.
Mhm.
It's good. It's that's the thing about HVAC. What I really enjoy about what you do, Joe, is you're so open to the diversity of the students, of all
Mhm.
the genders and different races and so many different people. I think there's an untapped potential with all the people out there, and you are at the forefront of it. And I can only imagine, after going through that test at the office and taking apart all the junk pile and unsoldering fittings or whatever you get them doing,
Mhm.
and then you go to your course with the take it apart and sequence it, and then electrical, and then do some troubleshooting, and then you do the people stuff where you do all that
Mhm.
in that 10-day period. Tell me, what does it feel like for the student? What kind of comments do you get from the students at the end of that when they graduate and get a certificate with you? Tell me what kind of comments and what
You
kind of
know, these
what does
guys,
it feel like? What does it feel like for that student? Give me that
these
idea.
people are excited about it. You know, I say guys, but we have had several women through here too, and they're excited with the knowledge they've got. You know, number one, when they come here, they all take a EPA 608 test, and we have about a 96% universal pass rate. Uh, we help them learn what they're supposed to learn so they know how to do that. Uh, the guys from Texas that are here in one of our programs, we help them get their Texas TDLR license so they can run calls. I can't get it in all states because all the states are different, but we do make sure they have the 608. And when they have the 608, so they know they can handle refrigerant, and they have a certificate from here that says this guy has successfully passed it. And they know if I send them up to the board and I say, see those lights up there? On this board, I want you to hook up a contactor, and those first 2 lights are your compressor, and here's your thermostat over here. They know they can do that. And they know that's the same as going out and working on those systems. And they
Nice.
know each one of those steps and pieces and parts, and they know how a furnace works. They are proud of their knowledge and they're excited to show it to somebody. These guys are happy, they're motivated, they want to go out and show people their skills. You know, the more you help them in talking to people, when they come back, I mean, I'm not going to send this guy out and let him troubleshoot a communicating system or a
Uh-huh.
boiler or something. That's not what they're here for. They're here
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get started. And they're here to learn how to talk to people and help you find opportunities in the field, help you do the right job on your tune up, make sure that all your customers get exactly what you promised them. And when it comes time to replace the system, to know that and how to turn it over to somebody else with those skills and let them close that sale for you. And that's what they leave here.
Well, let me one other question leading to that. What's the feeling in your heart when you see that group of 10 achieve that graduation and you send them off, and what's in Joe Cunningham's heart? What does that what's that feel like for you?
Well, it feels great. You know, my wife keeps asking me why I do what I do, and why don't I just come home and just mess with the cows and the horses. But I tell her, you know, I really feel like I owe this industry something, because the heating and air conditioning plumbing business has given us all that we have in our family, and we've been pretty blessed. And I feel like I owe it back to the industry to help them. And I got a couple of goals, and I tell everybody, my goal is to have all these techs trained and be able to earn enough money to drive what they want to drive, live where they want to live, and send their kids to college where they want to send them to college, and not have to incur all these student loans. And that's my goal for every one of them. I want them to go forward and be successful. And I get these calls back. You know, yesterday, the day before yesterday, I got an email from one of my Australian clients.
Hmm.
Hey, mate, I just want to tell you what's happening with the training you did for us when you were over here in Australia. And I get them from people all over. I get them from business owners. Say, this guy came back. You know, he's been here 6 months, like Dustin Miller in California. I've got a guy graduated from your class, and 6 months later, he's my top producing tech. You know, those things make you happy, and it makes you proud of the courses, makes you proud of your instructor, and it makes you proud of these students for going out and applying themselves.
Well, definitely, I am proud of my just my friendship with you, and I know it's late coming, but I think it arrived at just the right time. And Joe, any final words you'd like to say? How does somebody get a hold of you and your Technical Arts Academy, or anything else that you're trying to
Okay.
promote? Because really, I believe that I highly endorse Joe Cunningham as a man of integrity, a man who can inspire people, and you're sending him, you're giving him. I would say if I had to send my own son, he's 14 years old someday. I hope he's still here for him someday. Because if I had to send
Mhm.
my son to somebody, I would send him to you. Truthfully, that's what I feel about it.
That says a lot. But
It is.
you know, if they need to get a hold of me, I'll just give them my cell phone number. That's the easiest way. They can reach me at 318-286-7742. And then either myself or my assistant Mary will get back with them and send them all the information, tell them all about the courses, the various ones that we do, because we do have a whole career path after they get out of the first fast track program. We have an advanced air conditioning and advanced heating, and we're putting together an install class now. So we cover the whole technical spectrum. And you can build a technician that would normally take 5 years and 16 months if you put them through the entire career path program. So Mary can help you with that. And again, that number is 318-286-7742. We're redoing our website. The new website should be up, in a couple of weeks. You can still get to our old one, but it'll leave you with a lot of questions. And our web address is technicalartscenter.com. Technical Arts, ARTS Center.com. And you can reach us. You can email me at joe9152@verizon.net. Any of those ways will reach me, and I'll be more than happy to get back with you, and we can get your students started too. We'd love to see all your guys there.
Great, Joe. Any final words or thoughts as we wrap this thing up? What's in your heart for this industry going forward? If you said if you could be a sort of visionary, you've walked the path of history in this industry. Tell us, what do you see coming up in the next 5 years for this industry? What do you think? Give us a wrap up on that.
I see the labor market getting tighter and tighter, and we're going to have to fix that ourselves. You know, the average tech today, I think, is about 54, 55 years old. You know, so if we look forward to the next 10 years, they're gone. So
Mm.
who's going to fill their shoes and be that person in there? I see us going more to tighter management program to help these guys perform better in the field. We've got a new app program coming up that will help them on the technical side. That'll be coming out second quarter, where the technician will be put on that checklist, and it'll help him do a better job there. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up, but pay attention to your communication skills. Pay attention to getting the guys trained. Pay close attention to them when you manage them, and give them a system they can operate with. because the students we're finding today have been closely managed through school. They're used to electronics. They're not the greatest at customer service skills. So you're going to have to fix that. And then you're going to have to do some of those customer service communication things yourself. But that's what I see coming. And I mean, it's proved itself over the past 2 or 3 years to happen that way. We're going to have to go find our own help. We're going to have to grow them just like we're planting a garden every year. And the thing about planting a garden is don't wait till you're hungry to plant it, because then it's too late. Get started now.
Good job, Joe. Thanks so much for this interview. And we'll definitely, if you need Joe's help, give him a call directly. If you call me, I'll direct you to Joe as well. Everybody have a great one. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for inviting me, Joe. Talk to you
My
later.
pleasure, buddy.